Hi everyone, and welcome to this YouTube channel. My name is Penny, and this is Penny's Coding Bits. In this video, we're going to walk through how to integrate GPT-4o into your local environment so that you can build an app that tells you some basic strategic moves to solve some of your organization's issues. And these are based on some basic summary statistics such as mean, median, and standard deviation of your uploaded dataset. So you'll notice that I'm using the same old restaurant dataset that I have used in the past. And that includes the GPT 3.5 Turbo Data Prescriptor app that I have done at the end of May. The only difference between the data prescriptor and the strategic advisor now is the perspective that we're asking questions to the app to help us with our issues. So back then, we are concerned with things such as review transactions with large tips to ensure they are legitimate and not errors. And now we are more concerned with things like investigating the factors causing the high variability in the total bills for the restaurant and tailor promotion and pricing strategies based on the distribution of total bills. So, the perspective that we are asking the app for help has changed, and this is elevating us from the prescriptive analytics in the analytics hierarchy to cognitive analytics. So prescriptive analytics is more concerned with how much material should be procured to increase the production for our factory. And cognitive analytics is more concerned with how to make the supply chain agile and flexible to sudden changes in demand so that we don't have to worry about variability in our procurement because our supply is always enough to meet our demand, presumably, if this supply chain is working well, right? So another function that I have added in the Strategic Advisor app is the ability for the user to pick which column they want to work with. Versus before, we had a set of metrics that we are looking for, and not all data sets would fit all of these metrics. So here I have included a function for the user to pick which columns they want to work with. And we have the blessing of the GPT-4o model versus GPT 3.5 Turbo. So let's have a look at the back end of this app. So here you can see that we have the usual app design in the user interface section. And we have the server logic that includes the reactive expression to read the uploaded file. And this part is helping us to dynamically generate the user interface for column selection. And following these two sections are two big sections, and they each have subsections within, but one is the reactive expression to generate data summary based on the selected columns. So these are responsible for showing the mean, median, standard deviation for the chosen columns and this plot that we're seeing here. And once the data is processed and plotted, we need the reactive expression to get the GPT-4o insights. So all of this is responsible for sending a request to GPT-4o and get this response back and display it on our app. So let's have a look at the part of the code for generating the data summary. So first, we need to get the data into our code. So we need to request the input, and we need to call in all of the columns that are chosen. And we need to have a variable for the chosen column. So this is called selected columns. And we need to separate numeric and categorical columns because they need to be processed differently. And there are some debugging codes in case this code is not working well. And the summaries for the numeric columns and the categorical columns are being done separately, and we need a function to combine them. And finally, we need to render this summary table that we are seeing here, and that's being done by this code chunk right here. And last but not least, we need to use ggplot to plot our candlestick plot here so that we can see where are the mean, median, and standard deviation stand for each of our chosen columns. And we have this huge section for sending and receiving information to the GPT-4o model. So here we need to request our data summary because the data summary is being sent to the model to process. And we have to convert this to text format because this right now is in a data frame format, and GPT-4o is a large language model, so it can only process text. So we need to change the format and paste it into a variable called summary text. And we need to create this payload, so-called, so that GPT-4o can understand us of what we're asking. So that includes the model, which is GPT-4o, and our message, including our role as the user, and our question, which is based on the following data summary. Can you provide insights and strategic suggestions? And in the section that follows this message, we need to attach our summary text so that GPT-4o knows what we're talking about. And we also have to print the request body so that we can see that in our console. So you know that it's working. Otherwise, you would not know whether you have created the payload or is the payload not being sent to the model properly, or why is there an issue with your app. And once we have the payload, we can make the API request with some error handling here. So we need the URL that we're sending the request to, and we need to put in our API key for authorization, and our content type is JSON. So that's the text format that GPT-4o understands. And we also need to put in some debugging for the raw response content and the response structure. So if you look at JSON, it's in this format. So we cannot directly put this into our app and expect the user to understand it because it's too messy. You can understand certain parts of it, but this format needs to be cleaned up for the user to easily understand what the response is talking about. So that's what this part is doing. And last but not least, we need to render the GPT-4o response so that it shows up in our user interface here. You can see that this text output is being pointed to GPT response so that it shows up in our app. So I hope this can clear up some of the confusion around how to integrate GPT-4o into your local environment. And certainly, our Shiny is not the only environment that you can use GPT-4o in. You can also integrate it into VBA in Excel. If you're not satisfied with how Copilot is working, you can also use GPT-4o because it's more advanced. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next video.